Hello. Well, hi, boys and girls. How are you today? This is Uncle Bryan's Stories Worth Repeating, and I'm so glad you've joined Otong and me today. Very excited about that. Today's story is called 16 Inches. So if you've got a tape measure, I'd suggest you go get one. This is going to be really important here in today's story, boys and girls. And I want to remind you, I don't know if you know this, but each time Uncle Bryan does one of these live, I also then put it on my YouTube channel called Gallantly Streaming. And if you were to go there or have your mom and dad go there on the YouTube channel to that one and press subscribe, then you will hear each time that I have a new story. It'll come right to you, just in case you don't get it on the Facebook Live time. And so then you could have story after story of Uncle Bryan and Otong sharing these neat things with you. So don't forget to subscribe and to like the videos and pass them along to your friends so that more people can enjoy these stories and be blessed because of it. So today's story comes from Guide's Greatest Rescue Stories. Yes, it does. And it's also in Uncle Arthur's Bedtime Stories, a little different version of it. But this one is a neat story, and so I hope you're going to like it. Have you got one of these yet? So you can just pause the video if you want and go get one of these because it's going to be helpful for our story. Okay, so let me get in position for the story. So here you have Otong, but today we are going to call him Harry. Makes sense, right? Harry. Okay, so imagine now. I'm going to tell you what happens in this story. All of a sudden, Harry is having a dream. He's like, oh, no, but he can't move very much. And so as he's going, no, his mother comes running in. Harry, it's okay. What happened? He says, I had another dream. I dreamt that I was falling. He says, it's okay. You're safe now, Harry. He says, okay. You just rest up and you get better now. He says, okay. But this is the story what happened to Harry. Harry was a little boy. Not so big so I don't know how tall Harry was. He probably was about this tall, maybe, if you were going all the way to the ground, but he wasn't quite as wide as Otong is, because Otong is an orangutan, and they got really big arms and a big head. I mean that politely. Yeah, politely. You're okay. You're beautiful. You're just the way God made you guys. Yes, don't get offended. The little boy was smaller than you. Smaller. Okay, so imagine the little boy like this, and his daddy was working on a ranch in Arizona. And they were working and they were doing some drilling and they were trying to find water and they'd had these different things set up and his father and his friend, they were working in one spot and little old Harry was running around like a little boy would do. He's climbing on this, climbing on that, and all of a sudden Harry stepped on a piece of wood. He kind of was hanging and he swung, so you can imagine here he is. And he swung, there was this metal frame that was up over this piece of wood. And so he swung a little bit and he jumped down, whoop, and he hit the wooden piece. But you know what happened? Under the weight of Harry's body and the jump on that piece of wood, it wasn't a very thick piece of wood, and it broke. And this is what happened. That piece of wood was covering a hole, a pipe that went down 250 feet. Whoo! 250 feet. Do you know how far that is? Well, 250 feet, boys and girls, is a long ways. Let's see. That's not quite a football field. Not quite. But 100 feet twice and then another half again. Just imagine how long that is. How many boys and girls have you seen a bus, like a school bus? Those big yellow buses, right? Well, that's not a whole lot more than 50 feet. Probably even less than that. So imagine 5 of those or more. And that hole went down 250 feet. Now, how wide was it? That hole was 16 inches wide. So if you've got one of these tape measures, it's this wide. So it's about as wide as my table over here. Yeah? And it was a circle. So you can make a circle that's 16 inches wide, like this, going all the way around. And you know what happened? Little Harry, little bit skinnier than Otong, he hit that board and he went down the tube, down the pipe, wow, all the way down. And his father heard them scream, and he looked just in time to see his head going down the tube. And the father and the helper ran over as fast as they could, and they looked down, and Harry had gone all the way down 250 feet, flying down. He couldn't really move. He's going down like this. And when he hit the water, the water is cold, but he hit the water with so much force that both of his legs broke. And he's there in the water, and his father looked in real quickly, and he says, "Harry, listen to me now. You must listen." He says, "Immediately brace against the side so you don't go underwater. You've got to push your arms as far as you could." So Harry obeyed. He said, "Yes, Father." And so he pushed his arms against the tube so that he wouldn't go underwater, so he wouldn't drown. And then his father said, "We'll get you. Just hang on, Harry." And they immediately found this metal cable, and they began to push it down as fast as they could. His dad's hands were getting hurt as he's pushing the cable down the hole, but it wasn't far enough, and it began to coil up, and it got stuck. And I said, "What do we do?" And they pulled it back up. He said, "Just hang on, Harry, hang on." And they pulled it back up as fast as they could, and his hands were getting all cut. And the helper says, "I got some rope in the pickup truck." And so they went and they got the rope, and it's only 50 feet. He's like, "Well, that's not going to help. Go get more." And so the helper jumped in his pickup truck and raced, went riding out of the ranch as fast as possible. He went 7 miles down the road, got as much rope as he could find. He was pulling it from everywhere he could, and they pulled it back, and they began to tie all these ropes together, and finally they got 275 feet of rope. And they put the rope down, and the whole time, poor old Harry is sitting there. He's in the cold water. His legs are hurting him like something horrible. His legs are broken. And he's pushed against there. He's doing his best. He's trying not to go underwater. And he's waiting. And he's praying. And the daddy says, "Pray harder. Pray. Pray, Harry. Pray." And so they're praying. And the dad's praying. And the neighbor's praying. And they put all the rope down. And then the father yelled down and says, "Harry, tie the rope around your arms and make a knot." And Harry said, "It's okay, Dad. I'll hold on to the rope." And the father says, "No, do not do that. Tie it around your arms and make a knot." Now, boys and girls, I hope that you're part of a group like Boy Scouts or Pathfinders or 4-H or something where your parents are doing this, where you learn how to tie knots. Because that's really important. And one other thing that's really important is I hope you have learned to obey your parents. That's important. Because what would have happened if Harry would have said, "Nah, I don't want to, Dad"? The story would be very different. But Harry said, "Yes, Daddy, I will," even though he's in pain. And so he tied the rope around as tight as he could on his shoulders there, and he made the knot so it would be strong. And then his father and the friend, they began to pull that rope. And they pulled and they pulled and they pulled until Harry was eventually pulled all the way out of the 16-inch pipe. And they pulled him out, and he was like, "Ow!" And they laid him out, my legs! And like, "Oh no." And they rushed him to the hospital, and they took care of him. And so that's where he had fallen asleep, was in the hospital. His legs were in a cast, and they were all stretched out. And the mommy said, "It's okay. You don't have to be afraid anymore. You're safe now. Your daddy saved you." And Harry said, "No." And Daddy said, "No, it wasn't us. It was God. God answered our prayers and saved Harry that day." Oh, isn't that amazing, boys and girls? Can you imagine 16 inches, a 16-inch pipe, all of a sudden, wow. But God gave Harry the strength to sit there, to stay above water, and he provided the ropes and the timing and the Father's love that pushed it down as fast, even though his hands were all covered with cuts, and he had wrappings and bandages there too, but he was doing everything he could. But God saved Harry that day. Oh, boys and girls, isn't that an amazing story? I love it to hear stories about how God works in our lives, answers prayers, does things that we could never imagine otherwise, and he's able to turn all things for good. One of my favorite verses in the Bible is Romans 8:28. It says, "For we know that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are called according to his purpose." What a verse. What an amazing verse. So, boys and girls, remember, have your parents go and find the Gallantly Streaming channel and subscribe and like the videos and let us know what you think on Facebook here. We love you. We'll talk to you later next time. Bye-bye.